My name is John Lloyd Young, and I play Frankie Valli.
And I'm Erich Bergen. I play Bob Gaudio.
I'm Michael Lomenda, and I play Nick Massey.
And I'm Vincent Piazza, and I play Tommy DeVito.
Okay, so John Lloyd, can you tell us about the story? The Jersey
Sure.
Boys?
The story of Jersey Boys is about Frankie Valli and the Four Seasons. Their early beginnings before they were the band. They're finding their songwriter Bob Gaudio, scraping their way up from the streets of New Jersey to become one of the greatest sensations in rock history.
Now, how did you all become involved in the project? And I'll start with you, Erich.
I first became involved at the ripe old age of 20 years old when I was cast in the first national tour of the stage play of Jersey Boys. And we headed across the country and San Francisco and Los Angeles and all over the West Coast. And then I did the show in Las Vegas for about 2 years. And hadn't touched the show for like 3 or 4 years when I got the call to come and audition for Clint Eastwood's version. And somehow they chose me to do the movie.
Okay, John Lloyd.
I played Frankie in the original Broadway production of Jersey Boys way back in the beginning. For the first 2 years of that production, and in the years following that, it proliferated all over the English-speaking world to become the international hit that it is now. And recently, they had invited me back to the Broadway production to reprise my role on stage at precisely the same time that Clint Eastwood became attached to the movie project, and Mr. Eastwood saw me perform on stage. I met him briefly after the show. We said our hellos and shared our mutual admiration, and the next time I met him was on the set of his movie.
My first introduction to Jersey Boys was seeing this gentleman on the Tony Awards from the comfort of my living room. And I said, what is that show and how can I be in it? And eventually it came through Toronto and was looking for an original Toronto company, which I was part of, lucky to be part of. And then got invited to be part of the first national tour, closing it, which you opened, which was kind of interesting.
Bookend of the tour.
Yeah. And then towards the end of that run, I met Mr. Eastwood at one of our matinee performances, and he had sort of showed up in the lobby unannounced. And we met afterward, and then a couple weeks later I got a call for a New York audition. I flew down to New York, did the audition, and then about a month later I got the call, and the movie happened from that point on. And it was a very quick turnaround, but it was exciting, incredible.
And where did they find you?
Yes.
Well, after optioning the life rights for Mr. Valli, thinking of the screenplay and hiring Rick Ellis and Marshall Brickman to write it, I decided to cast myself in the I'm the newcomer to the group, and I guess it was a very nerve-wracking experience because I was brought on, I guess, as this unstable element in the group, which Tommy DeVito pretty much served. So I went through the casting process that way and was lucky enough to get on board.
Fantastic. Now, that being said, there's the three of you that had a history with the show, and then there's Vincent, you. So how did that all work together, and were there any obstacles to overcome with you not being a part of the, having the history with the story itself? How did that work out when you all got
The
together?
obstacles that Vincent had are the thing that actually made this movie what it is. Because the three of us, having come from the show, we were so used to doing it one way. The stage show has a different director, and it's its own piece. And the danger with bringing in all four of us having done the show would have been that we just did the exact same thing, especially because the three of us are used to doing the show, which is very much, you have to say exactly what's on the page every single night and give the same performance. That's what you do in the theater. But having Vincent come in, more familiar with the film world, where you do have a little bit more free reign, and especially Mr. Eastwood encouraging us to improv a little bit, Vincent was sort of our guide in adapting what we do to the screen.
Yeah, it's very kind to say it that way, but I mean, the reality of it is, you guys made the musical, was such a key part of making the musical such a success that it was made into a movie, and then it was just inhabiting new space, and I felt like coming in at that time with fresh eyes, maybe some more objectivity outside of the world and entering with them. It was just kind of I felt like I was part of some grand experiment, and it was a lot of fun.
He was a wild card for us that, he shook it up for us, which is great because, as actors, you want your screen performance to be spontaneous and real. And because Vincent didn't come into the cast with a preconceived notion of how Jersey Boys needed to be played, we had to act and react to these new, unfamiliar things that he was bringing us from his own instincts about this character. And I think it just revitalized our stage performances and made them alive on screen. It was almost like it was the first time we were doing it.
Yeah, just imagine everyone on stage and a guy that doesn't know their lines.
Well, that was the thing. Is
It's
that
like, what is he going to do next?
Right. I mean, he encouraged us, he got us to open up and say things that weren't on the script and really just play around. And then in turn, in the dance studio, all three of us would grab his hips and try to twist them at the same time as the music was going. And it was really like this collaborative effort to make sure that we were all on the same page.
What's really funny is that we'd spend, like, for example, there's a few scenes we were improvising the whole day on a scene, and then finally, in the end, when Joel Cox and Gary Roach and the editors and Clint Eastwood put the scene together, that ultimately on screen, some of the scenes are exactly as they're written in the stage play. However, because we were improvising all day around that scene, it was so alive and vital that the verbatim scene from the stage to the screen suddenly was so real and seemed like it was happening for the first time.
Fantastic.
You can dance now.
Dance!
I can dance. I can sing.
He described like the period Dirty Dancing. It's like weird. We're all grabbing my hips and
Well, it was a little
looking in the
romantic at
mirror
times.
and feeling liberated. That we can dance like men, walk like men.
That's right.
Fantastic. Now let's talk about working with Clint, who obviously has a great appreciation for music. What did he bring to the table in terms of the musical performances?
I think just a respect and an appreciation. He's such a he just loves music, and I think he's a singer himself. I don't know if he would say that himself, but he did Paint Your Wagon. He has sung before. We've heard his voice before, and so I think that mutual respect that he had for what we do was great because. He just gave us space to breathe and create this really vibrant energy behind these performances.
I noticed at times that the musical performances, he almost completely got out of the way when it came time to do our songs, and he almost filmed it like a documentary. He set it up, he knew that we knew what we were doing as far as the performance, and he got the audience to really not realize that there was a camera crew around and just only think that there was a concert happening, because there really was. We sang all of these songs live, so there was a real concert going on. So what Clint did was film it like a documentary, and he captured all of these live rock and roll moments because that's what it really was.
What was so great about doing all the numbers live is that we had a whole audience full of extras who were actually enjoying an actual live performance in front of them. But we had Clint Eastwood, the director, who could tell them they needed to applaud louder. Yeah. So we got exactly the reaction we wanted, on Clint Eastwood's command.
Fantastic. Now, what do you think, each of you, the reason is that this story resonates so well with everyone? I mean, they love the story, they go see it again and again. Why do you think that is? I'll start with you, Vincent.
I think there's something timeless about the coming of age, this cultural pocket, trying to escape and get ahead and make it in the world, rags to riches type thing, and then achieving it and realizing that there are some limitations in the perils of fame and fortune and success, and you get it from this place of innocence to corruption. I don't know, it's just something about it. I feel it's you get to watch it, and it's coupled with these incredible songs that have held up for decades, and then people know, and it just seems like a really well-balanced screenplay and story to tell.
Yeah, I think it's funny. I own a couple pieces of artwork, and I know the artists. And there's something about knowing the artists that makes those pieces of artwork feel that much more interesting, and I have an attachment to those things. And I think people know this music. They know the music on their own and bring their own history. But it's once they get to know the actual guys behind it, that's when it elevates that music a little bit more to a different level. And I think that's what Jersey Boys does so well, and why it sticks with people in a really deep personal level.
I think that like if you observe somebody that you know from high school who goes on to become a professional sports player, and you see them on the field on television, you're so excited because you see someone you know and you know their background, you see them succeed in front of you, and you have a personal connection to it. The way that Jersey Boys, the stage show, is structured, and something that Clint Eastwood maintained in the screen version, is the fact that these characters, from the first frame of the movie, with Vince's character, they talk right to you and tell the story right to you. So you as an audience member are having your hand held throughout the story by these guys that you don't just like them on screen because they're colorful, interesting characters. You like them because they're your friend and they're ushering you through their story. I think that then when we as a group succeed, it's like watching your friend or brother, succeed. So you have a really personal connection to it. I think that's why people come back again and again and again, because they're friends with us. They feel they are.
I'm much in that same vein. I think that this script is so well written that even in some of these characters, not finest hour, we're still rooting for them. So this story could have been about 4 guys who work at a store, could have been about 4 plumbers. It just so happens to be about 4 guys who created one of the greatest rock and roll groups of all time.
Do each of you have your favorite Four Seasons song, Vincent?
Yeah, I really just enjoyed Ragdoll so much. It was something really sweet and sentimental about whatever relationship might have inspired it, and it was just something about it that I really enjoyed.
Yeah, I love Who Loves You? Who Loves You Pretty Baby? I think it's a great groove, and I think it falls in a really interesting place in the movie and sort of brings things full circle.
I think the audience always goes nuts for a Sherry, and I love that feeling of live audience responding to that moment in a stage show, but also as an actor within it, and even on screen, all of the the trials that we go through as we're trying to succeed as a group. That's our first big success. So it's a relief, and it's a really great moment to play. So that song stands out for me.
I think Can't Take My Eyes Off You is one of the most romantic songs ever written. Bob Gaudio and Bob Crew have constructed one of the most unique songs. There's nothing else in the world that sounds like it, and yet every single person knows it. And it was so much fun to watch him sing it and sort of become an audience member on the night that we did it, and just really take in the fact that even though all of us on that screen watching him are actors and we're acting in that moment, what we really were experiencing was just an amazing concert that night with John and that incredible orchestra.
And one song over and over and over and over.
17, that's the longest
All night.
version of Can't Take you've ever sung.
Was there any particular favorite scene that you filmed that stands out in your mind?
Well, that sit-down scene, we call it the sit-down scene, which is the scene that when everything hits the fan at Jip's house. What's so great about it is that it would actually be considered a long scene for filmmaking.
Right.
We're so used to doing it on stage, but you kept on telling us that that's considered a long
I think it
scene.
was 11 pages.
11 pages, something like that.
Yeah.
But it was like they had it scheduled to shoot over 2 days. That tells you how long this scene was. But didn't we get done early and we had the day off or something like that?
No, I think it took the 2 days only because we were shooting in natural light. We lost light.
Oh, right. That's what. Right.
Because
Right.
we were shooting in an actual living room. The crew was going crazy trying to keep the light consistent for all the setups, because they kept going around this group of what is it, 6, 7, 8 of us in that
Right.
room.
Right, with all these windows for sure.
It took a while.
But it's just such a thick scene that so much happens. It's written so beautifully, and you feel the audience both in the theater on Broadway and in the movie theater. You feel them on the edge of their seat, and when that scene is done, the audience is exhausted. They're wiped by what they just went
It's
through.
a dramatic, it's like a height of a drama in this movie, and it was such a tense scene that, and I don't know who was responsible, maybe it was Clint, but they didn't even put our director's chairs next to each other. They sat us in separate rooms. Vince's chair was by itself in a separate room, remember that?
Yeah.
And usually on the set, wherever we'd go, they'd put our 4 chairs together, but that day, they sat us apart. So we could, I don't know, what I did was I just sat in my chair and I stewed about how my character felt about yours, and It's a good thing you weren't around.
Yeah, I think I was busy ordering a birthday cake for Michael.
Yeah, that's
I
possible.
was trying to contain my animosity.
That's right.